they're like, fuck the patriarchy. It's
Yeah, but it's universal. It's everywhere, except for one tribe. I know one tribe for sure in Congo, the Bakongo, they are matrilineal. So, if you have a daughter, it's like, yay, I got a daughter. If you got a boy, fuck that boy, Stuff like that, They don't care about the boys. It's the girls. It's the women that run the show. It's just one tribe. There is so much.
But for the most part, it's all patriarchy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah. 99% of the people, they are patrilineal. That's, the way things are run. So if we talk about that, it comes down to the men are the problem, So you cannot choose one specific race and say, these white guys. No. What about you guys, And I'm giving an example of a specific tribe. I'm Lega, I know about my tribe. We're so patrilineal. Everything is, patriarchy.
Is that all respected though? Is it all like?
Sometimes things go too far. Listen, I went to school. I have some understanding of certain things. There are people who go, all gangster. It's like, the women are trash and all that. We have a bunch of people like that.
Women give life and nurture and
absolutely, but that's not how these people treat women. I've told you about the marriages here and how when we go to these African traditional, marriage ceremonies, it's like people bargaining over a goat or a piece of land to buy, and she has no say into that.
How do you feel? Like, how do you think that, like, are there some that willingly are okay with it and then some that aren't okay with it?
So you've been raised in a family that, you've seen everybody get married like that.
Yeah.
You're not going to question it.
It's just expected.
It's expected. At some point you're getting married and we're getting the money.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It comes down to, it's like a business. But you see the point I'm trying to make? Patriarchy, the men control the stuff. It's not a one race thing. It's universal. It's everywhere. And I think to some extent, some of us who come from Africa and some tribes, it's a little rough. Women are treated as second-class citizens. And I hope a lot of people come out and to say stuff like this because it's like you said, to some extent we have to come back and be like, hey, you know what? Women give life.
I heard somebody explain it one time where like men and women are supposed to be different because they're complementary. They're two parts of a whole. Like, in other words, like together, that's the most amazing thing. Apart, they're not as strong as they are together.
Right. So one thing I come down to, this is my personal opinion of the whole thing. Do I think women actually have to be, let's say, like in a family? Like, I don't think my wife should be the leader in the house. But I also highly believe that I have to respect my wife. I have to make sure that her opinion counts.
Sure.
But the leadership still has to be with the man. Whether you're biblical, I think you can agree with me on that. But also if you're historical, maybe you may have some issues with that. But to me, I'm saying this, as a tribesman belonging to a specific tribe, there's nothing wrong with that. So is patriarchy completely bad? No, it's not. There's some certain elements of patriarchy that are good, that need to be valued and respected, but there are also portions that are a little toxic, and that's why I don't agree.
One of my wife's friends said something to me once. She goes, women want to be in charge of everything, and they want until there's a spider in the bedroom or there's a noise downstairs. Yeah. The one that goes to that is the man. Yeah. So like at the end of the day, is it an illusion of power that women want, or is it a legitimate, some things are just the way they are, and it's worked forever. Yeah. Like women don't go to war. Right. Unless this one tribe that you have in Africa, they might go to war. But most,
yeah, some tribes do. Yes,
throughout the history of the Alexander the Great's battles, Genghis Khan, it wasn't the women; it was always the men, and the men were there to. If everything was equal, the women would be there, and I'm not that doesn't mean women are lesser than men. Can't have babies. Yes. Men can't nurture and be amazing with children the way that women can be.
Yeah, and in some of these,
and we don't sustain life through.
We talked about rituals. There are all kinds of rituals, including some purification rituals. And what's funny is some rituals can only be done with the presence of a woman. We believe that women, exhibit certain powers.
I agree with that.
There is a ritual. I don't want to get into details, but let's say your wife, wakes up in the morning, she stands up, how do you say that? She like widens her stances and you cross, you pass underneath her legs and stuff,
like an archway of legs?
When she pees in the morning, that pee is, can be used for certain things,
Did not know that.
I don't want to get into some graphics, but hey, you can do a lot with your wife.
Can you imagine Americans being like, honey, did you capture your pee this morning?
That's not for lab work.
No, that's for something I don't even want to know. But what the crazy thing is, it probably works, whatever it is.
You know what I'm saying? The things we can talk about here that are weird, but women have to be involved in order for these things to work. And we're talking about African, traditional beliefs.
I think
witchcraft and
so
women are very powerful,
I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. There's the race division, the sexes division, where it's like it's unnecessary because everything's so complementary and it's used as like this divisive thing.
Everything is complementary.
Just to keep strife.
Right.
To keep everybody mad at each other. Okay, so let's say in South Africa, right? The people who are benefiting financially or politically power, they love the fact that everybody's fighting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it distracts from whatever the hell they're doing.
Right.
And once the people, when the people realize that they're getting screwed by people in power who are telling them, think this way, or these people are your enemy, or this group is your enemy. Most of the time, it's really not that way, and it's a story told.
Yeah.
To continue division or add new division.
Yeah.
I never thought trans was going to be a divisive topic. I never thought it would be a dividing line.
It's become one.
Yeah, but now in 2000, I think it was 2008 when they codified gay marriage. Right. My whole thing was back then. I was like, good. Everyone now has the ability to be as miserable as everybody else, right? And I thought that it was going to end at that. And then all of a sudden, there was all these different genders that came in where it's like, oh, you can now claim oppression forever.
Right.
Because, look, once everybody is legitimately treated equal, there is no more oppression.
There is no more oppression. And there are people who survive. They're like parasites. They survive on power. And power is best maintained through divisiveness.
Always.
It's
how the Nazis did it. It's how the Bolsheviks did it.
Right.